Epilogue. Those who walk between worlds. A long, long time from now.
Every year, it gets colder. Now let's see if we can't put some life into you.
It's Saga. She's old, and it looks like she's back in the House of All Worlds. So it turns out Saga Alvane is Lady Alvane. So Lady Alvane was both April and not April at the same time. And it looks like Crow was perhaps reborn as well, from the tiny crow we saw in the segment in Azadir. And it only makes sense that the story would end here. After all, The Longest Journey made a big point out of the stories ending where they begin, and this is where it all begins. With Lady Alvane telling the story right there. Now, of course, we can look around a bit more. And our goal is to rekindle the fire. Seems like it's cold in here, so let's do that. Well, that's easy. And now we have to rest our legs in the comfy chair. Still there? Let's look around the room first, though. There's a bunch of stuff we can look at here.
I had to visit Letok. I couldn't just let that mystery be. But the paths didn't lead me to them, all to that time, and I found nothing.
I guess that is where their parents met.
It was a beautiful place, though, and I left the memorial there for the two of them.
I wonder what happened to Etta and to her dad. I guess we'll never find out.
I had to visit Letok. Still so many worlds unvisited. So many universes left to traverse. But time's running out for me.
Well, I guess with infinite universes in an infinite multiverse, you will never be done.
I've kept track of all my travels over the years. The multiverse is big, but I haven't done too badly. I don't think many have walked as far and as wide as me.
I can imagine that to be true.
There. Oh, yes, I remember that place. And that strapping Coruscant farm boy. It was an enjoyable 2 weeks. Until his wife returned.
Oh, Saga.
Let's see. Oh, almost found myself in jail that time. Accused of whatever passed for witchcraft in that backwoods place. Like poetry could possibly open gateways. You need music for that.
Songlines, I'm guessing.
Was this where I found that godling and nursed him back to health? I believe he ended up wandering down songlines himself. He promised he'd stop by someday, but gods. Can't trust him. What's this one again? Oh, that place gave me a headache. There was something about the odd angles that messed with my mind. That and the trans-dimensional cephalopods.
That would probably give me a headache too.
wherever I put my finger, there'll be a memory. I could keep doing this for days.
She has led a full life, our saga, it seems. I'm guessing she was also the warrior princess who single-handedly won the War of the Balance, as Crow put it at the end of the longest journey.
Why did you never come back to me, Mama? Were you really not able to find your way? Or did something else happen? Did you forget about us?
I don't think that's the case.
I refuse to believe she stayed away on purpose. And I never really believed she was dead. She might have been lost in time, like Papa always said. That would explain why she couldn't make it back. I've read her stories. They're beautiful. I've collected them all. Maybe I should try to get them published somewhere. Why did you never come back to me, Mama? I could never write as well as she did. So I stopped trying. I could never write as well as she did. So I stopped. I like to think Papa found Mama in the end. And that they lived out their lives together somewhere green and beautiful.
Let's hope so.
Papa never gave up hope, no matter how hard I tried to convince him otherwise. If anyone deserved a happy ending, it was him. I wish Mama had come back to me, just to say goodbye. For too many years, I was so angry with her for leaving. I like to think Papa found... I miss you guys. So much.
I can imagine.
Oh, Papa. Trying to keep me here with wards and old magic. I must have been such a handful for him, and a royal pain in the ass. He left his glasses when he packed his rucksack and walked out the front door. Where he was going, he didn't need spectacles. At least I got to say goodbye to him.
So he did set off to find Etta. I hope he found her.
They wouldn't do me much good. Those wards are long gone.
What's this? A memento.
One of my favorite worlds. Vast and beautiful. It took me days to walk there, across treacherous song lines, avoiding discordants and bell strikers.
Looks like Spire.
I probably would never have gone, unless I picked up those rumors about a Midgardian woman who suddenly appeared in the City of Three Moons. I thought...
You thought it was Etta, I assume.
I was hoping I'd find her there, but the woman had left years before. I stayed a while. It was a wonderful place, but I grew bored, as I always do. I prefer my worlds three-dimensional, thank you very much.
Was this one more dimensional? That would be confusing.
I prefer my worlds three-dimensional, thank you very much.
That looks creepy.
The dead walked in that world. They were exceedingly polite, but it still creeped me out no end.
As it would me too.
The dead walked in that
Oh,
world.
looks like the spear is here.
They were exceedingly polite. One day, I'll get rid of that accursed thing. It's stained with the blood of dragons, but it's too dangerous to simply discard. The silver spear of Gariman, older than the twin worlds, forged in the fires of the first earth, created for one purpose, the destruction of magic. Some days I use it as a walking staff.
Well, we're better to hide it than in plain sight, I guess.
If we do end up taking one last journey, it'll probably be because of this blasted stick. I don't much like holding it anymore. It's thick with the blood of dragons, and heavy with broken dreams.
And it's the painting she made.
One of my older works. I must have painted that when I was in my late teens.
Indeed.
Come to think of it, that was an actual place. I visited there to get in touch with my ancestry. It was a strange and powerful experience.
Yes, of course, that's where the White Dragon used to live, and if April was related to the White Dragon, so is Saga.
One of my older works. I won't mess with this one, but I think I'd like to revisit this particular scene in a painting. Perhaps something that goes further back, to the beginning of the journey. Dragons and dreams.
That would be interesting to see.
One of the Sylvan worlds. Beautiful and peaceful, as always. So naturally, I grew bored again.
The Sylphan? From Peter F. Hamilton's The Commonwealth Saga? I doubt it. I probably just got the word from the same place.
One of the Sylvan worlds. Beautiful and peaceful, as always. So naturally, our bloodless king. He did not enjoy that throne, but he never complained. Not to me, at least. Even my endless teasing couldn't faze him.
Kian was the bloodless king, it seems. He ended the war between magicals and humans, and then presumably was part of the War of the Balance that followed, and that led to the reunification of the worlds, as the story was told to us in Longest Journey.
Oh, Kian, I miss you dearly. Not a day goes by when I don't think of you. He's been gone so long. I have a hard time recalling his voice and smile. I loved him with all my heart. I always will. My dearest Kian, I miss our long conversations. I even miss how every single one of my jokes passed over your head.
I can see that happening. Liko.
Now there's a face I haven't seen in a long time. Liko stayed true to Kian until the end, though to be honest, I always thought they were gonna end up killing each other.
Well, he did vow to do that, but fortunately decided against it in the end.
Kian wouldn't have lived half as long without Liko by his side. That man must have saved Kian's life a dozen times, and he always claimed to regret it. I'll leave that hanging where it is.
And the old drawing of April and Crow.
Not bad for a 7-year-old with no idea of what was happening to her and why she was having such vivid dreams. Arcadia, Crow, the Rolling Man. The beginning of a long, long journey.
Long indeed. It's been over 17 years.
That's her story. experience with my own eyes. I still can't wrap my head round that one. Not bad for a 7. I'll leave them up. After all, Papa isn't around to tell me to clean up and bring them to my room.
True.
Brave Zoe. It couldn't have been easy getting caught up in events and wanting nothing more than a quiet, normal life.
I guess she got it in the end.
I believe her daughter is still alive in the continuity, along with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
I guess they must be, considering reality is still here.
Brave Zoe. From what I've heard, she lived a long and fulfilling life. And I know she passed the dream on, or all this wouldn't be.
Indeed. It's Hugsy.
Hugsy. He's the only creature in this little world of ours older than me. I used to think he spoke to me, and I do believe I was right about that. There's a spirit inside him, old and shy. I think Mama put him there to watch over me when she was traveling.
Could be the spirit of the White Dragon, too, that we saw when Saga was a baby.
I'll have to make sure Hugsy is free to leave before my time comes. What's that, Hugsy? You miss Papa? I miss him too, old buddy. I'll release you when the time comes, and you can float on the winds until you find another stuffed toy in another little girl's room. What's that, Hugsy? Oh, dear old Hugsy. You're barely holding together.
Chart of songlines.
Now that my life's winding down, I feel like I'm just beginning to understand songlines. But at least here they are, charted and documented. Someone may benefit from my experiences.
I definitely don't understand them.
Perhaps I'll take one final walk along a winding path and listen to the songs and stories. Perhaps when the spring between worlds thaws the frost on the turnstiles. There's one passing right through this room now. I think I've heard this song line before. It beckons me. But I have shortbread in the oven, and my guest will be here soon. I would so like to go, but not now. Not today.
A guest? I guess she's expecting a guest. I wonder who that could be. Is that April's talisman?
This was April's. I'm not sure how that's possible or how it ended up here, but
I guess it did.
I feel her presence in this. I mean, I always feel her presence. That's inevitable. But there is something about this talisman. The beginning and the end will connect. They always do.
Indeed they do.
So much energy. Her chi is in this. It's hard sometimes to separate my own memories from what I've read and heard. April's journeys are vivid to me, but also dreamlike. I've spent so many years trying to make sense of our connection. I don't think I ever will. She's a part of me, and she always will be. But how And why? That's a mystery.
Too bad. I would have liked to know the answer to that one.
Someday, at the very end, maybe we will meet face to face before the cycle begins anew.
Feather.
His feathers are a lot grayer these days, poor thing. He hates growing old even more than I do.
Well, assuming you're talking about Crow, he would be very old for a bird by now, even if he was reborn. But I guess he is magical, so...
Did I pluck it? He never sheds, or if he does, he hides it well. My lucky feather from my best friend and faithful companion. I'll leave it be.
The War of the Balance. Can I sit here and read that? I would very much like to.
The complete history of the War of the Balance and the reunification of worlds. Volumes 1 to 13. I've yet to make it all the way through, I'm afraid.
Of course there's 13 volumes, just like every Longest Journey game has 13 chapters.
I helped Galath with the details while he was writing it. I was there to witness it all.
Galuf again? Still don't know who he is.
At least Galath was able to complete it before he traveled on to the stars. It's an impressive achievement, that history. I really should read it one day.
This comment about Galuf traveling to the stars reinforces many people's beliefs that he is one of the Drakekin. Although we don't know which one. The blue, I suppose.
The complete history of that's a tale for another occasion.
Probably never.
The twin worlds became one, and decades of strife and unrest followed. Many perished, but it had to be so. Magic and science could not be divided forever.
I guess not.
I haven't been back in decades. New Earth reminds me too much of friends long gone. But maybe I'll pay one last visit to those who remain. Some call it Starcadia. But not me, for it's a silly name.
It kind of is.
Worlds like that one are jarring. Everything just slightly off. It's like it was designed to keep me on edge, and I have such a hard time understanding post-physicals. Worlds like that one are jarring. Everything just slightly off. It's like it was designed to keep me on edge, and I have such a hard time understanding post-physicals. The Secret Lives of Stickman.
The Stickman from The Longest Journey.
Paths, ways, and songlines. Time is a spiral.
I could spend a lot of time reading in here.
Reincarnation for beginners.
Oh, I missed one.
The House of All Worlds. My one and only book. And it is truly one book only. The Secret Lives of Stickman. I'll sit down and read later with a good cup of tea from a floating teacup.
Floating teacup? Why do you have that?
She came to me when I was a child. She spoke to me, comforted me.
It's the White of the Draken.
I believe we'll meet again. And maybe then the mysteries will become clear to me. The White Dragon, April, me. Life's not a circle. It's a spiral. And there's an end to it, eventually.
I guess so.
The people of Stark got a sneak peek of what reunification would be like with the collapse. For most, it was not a pleasant experience.
It's the Collapse Memorial from Propast.
The people of Stark got a sneak peek of what reunification would be like with the collapse. For most, it was not a pleasant experience.
Someone's at the window. Oh, there's a teacup.
Rose loved to tinker with her creations. Now, where did those dragonflies of hers go?
I'm assuming Rose is Queenie's name, then?
I haven't thought of Rose for nearly half a century. Where did she end up after reunification? She always spoke about going post-physical and being with her Alvin again.
Alvin? The only Alvin we know in these games is Alvin Peets, the creepy guy who was the old boss of Wadicorp. It seems like Alvin and what was her name? Gilmore, the new boss of Wadicorp, kind of dropped out of the story. From what I've read, they did want to do more with them, and Queenie was supposed to be more important in the later books as well, but they ran out of time, apparently.
I would love to hear that story one day. Knowing Rose, she got what she wanted. I'll make some tea to go with the shortbread later, after my guest has left.
Is the guest the person who's knocking on the window? Why wouldn't guests come in through the door? Let's take a look.
It's freezing out there.
It's Crow!
You should not have let me go outside. Brr.
You're a big boy. What imbalance were you thinking?
Fresh air. And I was going a bit stir-crazy inside.
You know very well it's not safe. Paths shift with the wind between worlds, and the song lines are fragile things at the best of times. One discord, and you could end up lost forever. Just like...
You worry too much, old woman.
Oh, old woman, huh? You're no spring chicken yourself, bird.
Oh, bird me. I've survived worse. Anyway, time to dry my cold feathers by a roaring fire while I enjoy a saucer of sweet sherry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you. You can't
What? I can't what?
be here.
You're not serious. You're serious.
I'm receiving a visitor, and she mustn't see you. There'll be too many questions. Questions I can't easily answer.
And who, pray tell, is this very important visitor?
I will tell you. Afterwards. Go upstairs and warm yourself by the chimney. It won't be too long.
After all these years, I get no respect. No, don't say anything. It's fine. I'm going upstairs. Just don't expect me to come back down again later. Or ever.
I'm making shortbread.
Call me when it's ready.
He's easily convinced. So that's why there's holes above the doors. Here to let Crow move around freely. That's nice of her. And now we're back to having to rest our legs, apparently to wait for our visitor. And I have a shrewd suspicion who that might be.
It's the comfy chair. I never could get rid of that old thing.
And why would you?
I've traveled so many worlds, across so many ages, but I never found a chair quite as comfortable as this one.
Well, let's give it a try then.
Welcome, April Ryan.
Of course, the visitor was April when she was fleeing from the border house in The Longest Journey and went through the mystery door. That brings us to the end of Dreamfall Chapters and the end of the saga of The Longest Journey. I really enjoyed this game. It answers most of the questions and lets us finish on a real conclusion rather than the cliffhanger left by Dreamfall. We get to see some of our favorite characters again and finally find out what happened to them. The writing is good as we've gotten used to with the other games, with many memorable characters and funny moments. Whether old favorites like Crow or new additions like Liko and Enu, there's a lot to like here. The game is, of course, far from perfect. The storytelling is a bit heavy-handed in a lot of places and also rather unevenly paced. The game spends a lot of time in the first 3 books building up a number of things, especially in ProPast, that don't really seem to go anywhere, only to then rush through the actual plot explanations in Book 4 and 5. A little bit more careful planning could have avoided that. I've read that certain elements were supposed to have played a more prominent role, such as Queenie for instance, but that they ran out of time when doing Book 4 and 5. It seems like some of this could have been avoided if they hadn't gone for the episodic development, but I'm not sure. There are still a lot of unanswered questions. I'm still not clear on the events of Brian's rise to power, for instance. He apparently always had the undreaming in him, but was suppressing it with alcohol, I guess? He told April he didn't want to go home because Stark had changed so much, yet now this seems to be his primary motivation. And how did he become so important in Azadir? How and when did he contact Helena? Helena must have been working on the Dreamer project long before Brian became the Prophet, since Zoe was born well before the events of The Longest Journey. Saga is similarly vague. Her connection to April is not fully established, and we still don't know how either April or Saga relate to the White of the Kin. Who were Saga's parents anyway, especially her mother? What happened to her? Is Uncle Galuf someone we should know? And what were these prophecies Saga was acting on? Who wrote them? How did Saga know about them? Also, I get that April was saved by being reborn, but what role did Zoe actually play in that? And how was Crow reborn? Some of these questions would presumably be answered by The Longest Journey Home, the bonus game that was one of the stretch goals that was unfortunately not reached. Tornquist has said he's not going to go back to that in a long time, if at all, so who knows if we'll ever learn anything more. Then there's the gameplay. Much like Dreamfall, this feels more like an interactive movie than a true adventure game, especially in the later chapters when there's a few too many really long cutscenes. What little gameplay it does have, it handles fairly well, left-click to row notwithstanding. I especially like the exploration of ProPast and Mercuria in the beginning. The controls are thankfully much easier to use than Dreamfall, and there's no annoying stealth or combat sections. I expect budget played a role here in the limited gameplay. This game was made on a lower budget than the original Longest Journey, let alone Dreamfall. That's most obvious in the graphics and animations. Overall, considering their aspirations and the limited budget, I think they did pretty well here. The choice mechanics were hit and miss. There are only a few choices that really affect the story in any meaningful way. I think the choices were meant to be more as a tool to get you to think about the morality of some of these actions, rather than as a way to really influence the outcome. Which is fine, but I just wish the game wouldn't make such a big deal of them. The whole "the balance has shifted" thing becomes old fast and is kind of immersion breaking. Overall, this was not quite as good as The Longest Journey, but still a very enjoyable game and an ending to the series that we have waited for a very long time. Oh, and in case you're wondering, my name is in the credits as one of the backers, so stick around to see it. I'll put the time code in the description of the video if you want to find it. Thank you for watching.
I know I can be a bit of a troll. I don't know where we're going. Don't just say you love me, show me. I got you, but I'm lonely. I don't know, I can't tell. It's like you no longer know me. Perhaps you know me too well. I'm afraid you've outgrown me. I'm at the end of my rope. I just want you to hold me. Don't just say you love me, show 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 me. I don't even know where to start. I'm just a guy with guitar, trying to make sense of it all. Everything just seems so banal, but there's no need to stay up and ponder. Get out there before it's all gone. I know it's not that easy, such a mind fuck. Oh, believe me, I'm trying to hold on. I'm trying not to let go. I'm trying to keep going. Trying. I still don't really know who I am After all of these years of goddamn, we're just spinning around in the